Hey kids, welcome back to another episode of Old Man Plays CFL Fantasy. I'm going to be honest with you right off the top. This is going to be a tough one for me. Our our puppy of 13 years just passed less than an hour ago, and football doesn't seem to matter all that friggin' much right now. But I've made a commitment to you folks to put my advice out there with this show. And so I'm going to get through it and tell you what I think. And hopefully you get some good out of it for your stuff. Our puppy had 13 very good years with a family that loved him. And that will help over time. Anyway, enough of that. This is about football. So let's start with the Friday night game. Edmonton in Winnipeg. I have trouble picking too many people to take from this game. Maybe Dunbar Jr. as a receiver, but I can't see that Edmonton offense getting going. The Winnipeg offense will probably do well, and I think running backs there make a good sense, but receivers, Zach they'll run a lot. Zach will probably get less than 300 yards and one or two touchdowns, and so it's hard to go with him. On the receiver side, maybe Dalton Schoen. He's been consistent, but not with a lot of yards, so not big points so far, although he did get the one touchdown. And then Carrick Wheatball has been fairly consistent in lots of catches, big yards, and he has one touchdown. So I think I might look at him there. Then we go to the Friday night game, which is Hamilton at Montreal. And again, here we've got a backup quarterback, MBT, in for Montreal. So who's he going to throw to? And Bo with Hamilton, Greg Bell's out. So unless the backup running back is really good, then Bo might be throwing 60 times and pick up a bunch of stuff in garbage time and points and touchdowns or yards and touchdowns. So he's kind of my default at this point. I'm thinking I'll probably go with him and pair him up with, I'm thinking probably Kenny Lawler. He's been the most consistent one there. White's had some too, but I just don't trust him. He can't seem to catch the good deep ball. And on the Montreal side, Tyson Philpott's been pretty consistent. Not necessarily huge yards in the first two games, but a few catches and whatnot, and then he blew up in the last game. So maybe there. And Austin Mack, although he was limited in practice this week, he's been getting fairly consistent usage too. But we don't know who MBT is going to throw to necessarily either, who he's comfortable with. So I may go with some of those, but I might be a little bit iffy there. And that takes us to the Saturday game, BC at Saskatchewan, a possible matchup of Jeremiah Mazzoli and Jake Mayer, which doesn't inspire a lot of confidence. Even if Trevor Harris is in there, I think I would avoid him, and the same thing with Nathan. I need to see something from Nathan, especially coming back the first week after injury. So probably neither of those quarterbacks. Might go with the two slot backs, Keyshawn Johnson and Dante Myers from Saskatchewan. They've been fairly consistent, bringing in at least reasonable yards, and BC was giving up yards and touchdowns to the slot backs in their earlier games. On the BC side of things, maybe Keon Hatcher and maybe Justin McInnes, although Hatcher has been somewhat more consistent in yards and catches, I guess, yeah. And then the last game, this is the one that if Drew Brown is in, I'd like to take him as quarterback. So I'm going to make sure that I can make a switch once I find out, if I find out in time. They should at least by tomorrow rule him in or out in the injury report. If it says probable, I don't know. I guess I stick with Bo Levi then. But if possible, I would like to go with Drew Brown if he's back in. Even coming off injury, I think he will be quite good. And I'd team him with either Eugene Lewis or possibly Braylon Addison, who had a fair amount of work when it was a non-monsoon type games. So there's that one. And on the Toronto side, again, I'm not sure that there's, even if the Chad comes back, first game back from a long injury, I don't want to be taking him. And if it's Arbuckle, I'll definitely stay away from there. Receivers, well, Unger had a good couple of first weeks and then did almost nothing last week. And Coxie, again, has been not great, but has had big yards in at least all 3 of the games and 5 or 6 catches. So he burnt me last week, but I might consider him. So that's about it. That's what I'm going to be looking at. It'll be time to fire up the computer. Well, actually, I've already fired up the computer. I did this earlier knowing that I would have to deal with Roman and what was happening there. I'll punch it in here, and then I'll come back and close. Okay, so here we go. Let's see what we've got here. I said quarterback. I'm going to check what's Drew Brown cost me here now. He's $12K, and if I go with Bo instead, he's $14. So either way, I'll be okay. So I can put my team together around Bo Levi and then see if I switch over to Brown and who I switch with there. But so let's start with, Bo Levi on there, and that would mean that we want to put Kenny Lawler, who's going to be another expensive one, up there with him. So let's just work our way down and see what that gives us. So if we say, okay, well, how much does Cedric Wheatfall cost us? We'll go to the Bombers here specifically. Oh, Wheatfall's still at $4K, so let's take a chance on him. He's been good so far. That may save us some money. And then who else did we feel not bad about? I bet Tyson's going to be expensive, but let's give him a try and see where we end up with. So that means we have to go to Montreal. Oh yeah, Tyson's at 10, so that still, mind you, that leaves us about 10K each for our last 3 positions. So that's not too terribly bad. Running back, I do think that AJ will probably have himself a heck of a game. So we're going to go to Saskatchewan there. AJ's at 12. So this may mean we put in a lesser defense. We'll have to see. Then let's think about who else do we have out there in them. I don't trust Butler against the Saskatchewan defense. Peterson in Winnipeg ran well, and I think he might be where I go to with this next one. Rankin, I don't think, ends up running against Winnipeg well or Leak. And then when we get to the Eastern games, well, Hamilton's got Bell out. Sean Thomas-Erlington with Montreal was questionable. It's possible that Stanback will have a good game against Toronto. But I don't see the Toronto running backs doing well against Ottawa. So really we're down to almost to Peterson or Stanback. And given the defense that they're facing, I think I would look probably for Peterson. So that means I'm now over to Winnipeg here. And where are you? At 8K. All right, so that leaves me 9.5 to get myself a defense. Let's open these up to all the teams and see who's what. Can't afford Montreal. I don't think that they're going to. Well, they may score well against that. Can't afford Winnipeg. Saskatchewan I can, and I could see them, especially if Mazzoli's in, picking some off. Ottawa is affordable, but yeah, I think all things considered, I'm going to go with the Saskatchewan defense here. I can afford them. That leaves me 0.9K to work with, so I'm happy with that. Here we go. Oh, I have to pick a captain. We'll make Bo Levi the captain. Lock it in, and there we go. And yeah, so there's my picks. As always, use them at your peril. I didn't say earlier in the show, but I lost the game last week. I was middle of the pack again. I think 74.5 yards. I couldn't get anybody that scored more than 10 or 12 points. and that just wasn't enough to get it there. So I'm 1-2 in the CFL Podcast League. Hoping this week will be better. We'll see. Normally this is where I'd be saying, subscribe and comment and all that. And yeah, we'd love to have you keep doing that if you can. But this week I'm just going to end up with just saying, the loved ones you've got out there, people or furry people, just enjoy and cherish every moment you got with them. It has to come to an end eventually. So that's it for this week. I hope we have some good football. I hope you have a great weekend of fantasy. And till next week, Old Man signing off.